Okay, time for another Bureau of Tactical Imagination question and answer session. This one today is from Margie Butler, someone I know from here in Providence, Rhode Island, who does fantastic work and has a couple of different questions I'm going to try to answer all at once. So part one, when one is deep in the trenches of doing the work, how to be smart about capturing juicy nuggets about the way I do my work to share later. There's so many ways, Margie, and I would say start with thinking about what's the path of least resistance, what interferes the least with what you're doing. How can you harvest easily, even if what you harvest isn't already in a form that you're going to put back out there into the world. So think of it as you're harvesting raw material. And it's fantastic if what you harvest is like ready to go, ready-made for the world, but it's more likely that it's going to be raw material that you can use later and turn into something else. So what comes easiest for you in terms of how you communicate and the kind of habits that you have and the apps that you use? Is it using voice memo, like getting into the habit of always having your phone open to your voice memo or some kind of voice recording? So every time you have a thought and think, ooh, that would be good to share more publicly, you can just speak into it. And then later you can figure out if you're going to turn it into a blog post or social media posts, etc. Is it writing notes on Post-its and there's a place near your computer or on your wall, someplace nearby where you can let these little piles of Post-its accumulate? Or if this is client work you're doing one-on-one, are there little ways that you can take notes around the margins of things and come back to them? Use bookmarks and Post-it notes, color code them. Like what feels comfortable and fun and like the path of least resistance. And just let those juicy nuggets accumulate for a while, and then you can look at them and say, what's the most appropriate and most fun and most interesting way to make this visible and accessible to other people? So Margie's next question is, if you've never been a sharer on LinkedIn, I think this is where my business landscape resides, she says, how to have the courage to start. Okay, so question about fear. In this particular case, I would say one thing that might help you, I don't know if this is what's getting in your way. Like when I'm in similar situations, that first foray feels really important. Like you somehow have to set up what you're going to be doing and you have to frame it, and it has to be an example or a model of the brilliance of all the things to come. And it just like takes on this ridiculously weighty importance. I would say to get yourself through that hump, start in the middle. So imagine that you've already been on LinkedIn for 6 months and you're producing tons of content, and this next thing that you put there is just the next thing. It's another fragment. What you're building on LinkedIn or on any of these social networks is a body of work, an ongoing body of work. It technically has a beginning, but you should think of it like it has no beginning and it has no end, and you can just drop in and deliver something in the middle. So I would do that. And then my second little piece of advice about fear in those situations is fear loves isolation and hates company. So this could be something that you do with someone. You're co-working with someone for an hour and you say, come hell or high water, I am publishing this thing on LinkedIn by the end of this hour. In 45 minutes, let's check in, see what I need to do to get it publishable. Out it goes. Or in the spirit of your first question, you could just take one little juicy nugget, one insight that you had the last time you were working with a client, and publish it as a quick post. So just start. Okay, and the final question is, much of the content I have to share is impeded. I have to sign serious NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. How to pluck an idea and wipe it clean of unshareable content. I'm not really sure if this is possible. Some of these agencies might freak if they saw something related to one of their projects, etc. My question to you would be, what is the purpose of your sharing? Are you sharing to gain new clients? Are you hoping that sharing some of the insight from the work that you do with current clients will show some social proof? You know, people can get a sense of, you know, the caliber of agencies that you're working with, that kind of thing. I would get clear about your goals and then start to separate things out. If it's the social proof from these agencies that you want, I would ask them really directly for testimonials, ask them directly for things that they can share, that they want to share, and then really think freshly about the platforms that you are publishing on, the social media platforms you're publishing on. Do they really need to know anything at all about your clients? Is there some other little body of work you can start to build on and grow that shares your insights, shares the tools that you're using, but doesn't have to have anything to do with the client work at all, you know, or can speak about it super abstractly? I was working with a client the other day and I realized, and then here comes your insight that has nothing to do with the client in particular. So, and for some reason, as I'm listening to your question, it also inspires me to say, and hopefully this is useful to you and others who are listening, we have a huge pile of knowledge and tools by virtue of the fact of being people who've been, you know, immersed in our work and our careers and our artistry, whatever it is, for many years. A huge bank of knowledge and tools that we totally take for granted, right? It's like boring to us. It's just how we work. We don't even think about it. We get surprised when other people are blown away by it. I would inventory all that stuff. Like, just do a big inventory of all the things you know, all the things you think, all the things you believe, all the perspectives that you bring that other people that you work with haven't learned or experienced before, all the tools, and encourage yourself to not take any of it for granted and not assume that anyone else has that. And that will give you ideas for days, ideas for miles of posts and all kinds of content marketing you can do. And the final thing I just want to say to you is you're an artist and you're a wildly creative person. This gets to be fun. Like, think of this as another art piece, like a conceptual art piece for you. How do I share this body of work in a way that is based on my habits and my daily conditions? You know, in other words, it's the path of least resistance to getting it out there. It's the most fun for me to work on and easiest to do. That's why I started doing these Q&As. I was spending all this long, laborious time trying to write these beautifully crafted emails to my list, knowing that that's really helpful for people when I do it. And then it occurred to me that I could probably shoot 50 of these videos a day, say just as much that's useful, cut out all the fluff, cut out all the extra work, and have a lot more fun doing it. So what's the equivalent for you? What would help you just get that stuff out there quickly and easily and in a way that's most fun and takes you the least amount of time? Maybe, unless you're so inspired by it, you'd want to spend countless hours on it. That's another really great thing to think about. All right, I hope this was helpful. I am taking these Q&A questions for the indefinite future. So if you are watching, if you are listening, if you have a question to ask and you want me to answer in this format, just put it in the comments. I'll be reading all the comments and I will tag you in when I answer your question.